I gotta wait? How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story.
It's Dream, and we got a season 2. Your Black Bostonian here, a product of a single mother who I work to make proud every single day. I'm a 3-degree holder, your veteran educator, your tech entrepreneur, and founder of the Chair platform. My platform is dedicated to supporting Black and brown people on their hair journey by creating hair boards, connecting to hairstylists, and sharing haircare tips for a more joyous experience. My podcast is about sharing hair stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and stories surrounding identity with goals to leave you laughing, learning, and advocating. So come in and listen to the stories in the chair.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Bernardo Duran Jr. Bernie, can you please introduce yourself?
For sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Bernardo Duran Jr., but I go by Bernie. Thank you, Dream. I am an LA native, born and raised in East Los Angeles, film and television producer, and I'm excited to be on.
Do you consider yourself an educator in the film space now?
When I started, I would have said, I'm on my way to being an educator. Very, very naive, and I don't mean it in the classroom, right? But just in general. I think I'm a student. I think there's just so much to learn about this. And when you go through a rigorous program like the one that, I went to with my colleagues, with some of my colleagues, you realize that there are these cycles, I guess, like with everything where cinema reacts to something that's happening in the world. You have post-war, you have kind of all these different facets. But I feel like we're learning. I feel like I'm always learning what audiences want. I can tell you that years ago, it felt to me like what we wanted was very happy, kind of everything pans out in the end type of stories. I think now what we're learning is that the world is changing what our taste is, and even with with this new generation, was it Gen Z now or whatever, I talk to my nephew a lot and his friends, and I do my best to kind of track. And I think what I'm learning right now is that the industry is shifting in terms of what stories that we're telling, something that's a little bit more rounded, a little bit more realistic. So yeah, I guess the short answer is I'm very much a student. Whether it's what's catching on with audiences, a way to tell it. You have technology, you have AI, which is a really hot topic right now, and how we're going to start embracing it. So yeah, I think there's so much to learn, and even in just storytelling, if I could just take one quick second, like storytelling is such a gift, right? So I think being able to learn from my colleagues, learn from my peers, learn from my heroes who I've been fortunate enough to work with in my career. It's like someone always has something for you to learn. So I hope that that's just the case at the very end, because it's something that I think keeps me really hungry, is that curiosity.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos. It shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hair boards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join The Chair. Community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on The Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In The Chair. The Chair. The Chair. All right.
Help me understand something. So you are a producer, but you went to film school. For me, I have a very, very basic understanding of film school.
Yeah.
You're not just the camera guy. You're not the director. Maybe you're a cinematographer, but you're a producer. But you're on the films. So, help me understand what a producer is and how you found your way to that title from film school.
There are a lot of kinds of producers. You'll see associate, executive producer, consulting producer. You'll see a lot of that stuff. I'm really just kind of a producer. I'm mostly working in the film space, so that's like, you'll see my credits are like associate producer, co-producer. Sometimes that just means like how like far deep you are in, or what specific role. If the producer role is a very it's almost like a loose term, but there is a lot of specificity when it comes to it. Also, you'll have like a line producer who is a bottom line driven sort of producer, which I have been on commercials. That's one of the people who I play. You'll hear the term creative producer, which is more along the lines of where I am, but because my background's in finance and logistics, I function more like a project manager. So I do a lot of the creative things, and that can be reading articles, sourcing material, licensing things, trying to get a project that you see, that you see potential in off the ground, and like the very seasoned, the kind of like big producers. And you have a lot of producers that are doing it also, like folks who I went to school with, Cesar, who is one of the producers of Sinners. He's a guy who I went to school with, and he's very much the guy from like the ground up. He can get a project going, like Sinners, for example. Myself, I am a creative. I'm a logistical producer. I'm a person still very much laying down the foundation so that I can be this big kind of creative producer who can make the call and get those things done. What I do right now is something that I, quite frankly, really enjoy. I love getting into the minutia of things. Again, like a project manager, understanding across departments how the big web and this big, again, well, rather the circus, right? Kind of how it all works together. And then I love doing the creative stuff first and foremost. So I get to be in, kind of every creative meeting with writers, with producers, with my, fellow producers, with the director, participate in conversations with studios, guide the creative direction as much as possible from where I'm sitting. And that's often in support of the director and the writing team. And then on top of that, like where my project manager skills, where I get to scratch that itch, is to like making sure that people are understanding and have the tools to marry whatever they need logistically to that creative vision. And so over the years, it's required me to be very familiarized with not just like my language, but how, I work with my partner, Steven, for example. A producer also protects the material as well and advocates for the material. So on my ascent, finding what that really means with, with folks from the studio, from other producers. And I've been very fortunate to have, as far as that goes, a very smooth trip in these 14 years. My first big movie was Creed in 2000. We shot it in 2018, and it premiered 2018, Creed 2. And that was a great place to cut our teeth. And so I've been learning and growing throughout the years, and in every project. So the short answer is yes, it's more like a project manager, but the long answer is it's complicated. And I'm working on the way to being a version of what I want to be, but right now I'm playing in the place that I can.
So you're a badass. That's what you just told me.
Very nice of you. Thank you. You know what? I'm so happy to do this. It's a labor of love. I think for all of us, right? Like maybe our generation is different. I don't know, but like this is a really difficult industry, and I know everybody in the times are tough and challenging. But this is something that like I guess I could maybe go look for another role doing something else in another industry, and that would be fine and it would pay the bills. But with all the uncertainty, everything that we have to navigate as you go in, in the ascent of your journey. Like I'm, I'm learning every step of the way, and things aren't always clearest at the very beginning, but I've done some really cool stuff. So I'll take being called a badass. I've been called worse before.
Do you have a memory of that you think about often of working with your heroes?
I do. Funny enough, so I remember when I was still applying to film school. I remember I was running an errand for an uncle of mine with one of my cousins, and I told him because I hadn't heard back from USC yet. And I said, if I get accepted to this, I'll have made it if I ever get a chance to work with Diego Luna and Gabriel Garcia Bernal. And that must have been 2010. I started school 2011, and in I think 2012, maybe 2013, early, I started working literally for them at their production company.
Wow,
and
look at
and
that.
so it was the wildest thing ever. And it was my very first job, and I actually got hired mostly because of my finance and my like managerial stuff. So I became an in-house producer there. And the memory that I want to tell you about is one of the movies that made me that inspired me to go to film school was Y Tu Mamá También, which is one of Alfonso Cuarón's first movies. And Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal are both in it. They're young, and it's a very like independent, very strong. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. It's a wonderful movie. So that movie kind of affected me, and I got to talk to each of them separately, months apart, because they were my bosses. Each of them just randomly invited me to lunch, and I got to talk to them about what their experience was like. And it wasn't anything that I like even felt comfortable in that time asking, because I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be like super fanatical on them. But we just kind of started talking, and I'm sure that they've been asked that 1,000 times by people in my shoes, but it was my first time, so I didn't know how to navigate it. And I had these long convos with them, and they kind of opened up, and I got to really talk to my heroes about them. And like that's one of the things that I've really um, gotten to love about this industry, is that when you do talk to these people who have accomplished and live at a certain place, it's like it's that opportunity that I think is often given to them to be normal. And so yeah, like I think about those moments, and I remember it was shabu shabu, and it was Mexican food. So yeah, I remember those a lot.
I haven't seen the movie because now I'm gonna have to watch it after this podcast, this episode is finished. Now I'm gonna have to go find it. So
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
yeah, so tell me, what about the movie is that you're like, this movie is something to me?
These are restless characters. When you watch this movie, you'll see that they're young, they're restless, and they kind of throw caution to the wind. But it's also very much a story about this friendship, right? And mortality sort of creeps in. But I guess it wasn't until funny enough, I walked into film school, and the first day I learned the word visceral in film school. And so I think something about that, watching that movie, made me walk away with sort of this like visceral feeling. I think, and if it wasn't that specifically, I mean, something did feel very raw about it. But I wouldn't have been able to tell you that day, because I was a teenager, or maybe early 20s watching that movie. But I didn't realize that it was about that I was feeling represented on screen.
Mm.
And so I very much did see that, right? And so like when I did meet Diego and I did meet Guy, like seeing that while we're not the same people, we're not even geographically from the same place, we have a cultural through line. And even then, we're from different sort of backgrounds and economic classes and all that stuff, right? Like certainly in the traditional Mexican sense, which is how I was raised. So, but I still identified with them. I still identified with their journey, which I'd never been on, and haven't even been on, since I watched this movie. But it was nice to feel that I could relate to something in the most vague of ways. But that's something that, yeah, I guess again we try to do every single time, and that's something that just really stood out. And I don't know Cuaron, so I'd love to ask him that one day. What was there an agenda behind like relating to an audience? Something.
Well, I hope you definitely get the chance to ask him.
I hope so.
The chair.
Oh, And if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show. My podcast digs into conversations about identity, entrepreneurship, and education, and also hair. I started building this podcast because hair connects many of us. There's an intensity to it that a lot of us experience. And so I'm wondering, do you remember the first time you fell in love with your hair?
I remember it exactly because it wasn't that far ago. Yeah, it was actually in Philadelphia. I went to I was in West Philly. Teddy Duncan, who did hair for us on Creed 2, he was our barber. He would cut us. He would cut up obviously Mike, and he would cut up the talent. And I've always been this like scruffy kind of guy. Like this is why banking was maybe so weird. But one day, he sat me down, and I wear baseball caps, like that's my thing, right? And so he sat me down. And he was like, just let me do what I'm gonna do. And man, it must have taken this guy. I mean, he was fast, but it still took him a minute because I had that much hair and it was just so bad. But he kept my hat and he said, "Go take a lap around." And I couldn't see it. I couldn't see myself getting cut up. So he goes, "Go take a lap around," and I did. And everyone was like astonished, taking pictures of me, whatever. And I got back and I was like, "Oh my god!" He had given me this like low taper pump, and I got to tell you, I was like, it's the most confidence I think I'd ever had in that moment, like before ever. And so that was the very first time I frankly ever sat with a barber. It just wasn't like something in my community. So ever since then, yeah, like I've been more intentional. So that was the first time that I fell in love with my hair. And I have curly hair. So it's always been really difficult for me to get any kind of like quality cut. Frankly, I was going to like $7 and $12 cuts when I was growing up, and then I would just never get a haircut. But that was the first time, and that was in 2018.
And do you feel that you're still on a journey today?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's one of the things that I'm really bad at self-care, but that's one of the things that I can tell you right now. I'm like, if I go do that, that's gonna make me feel really good. I used to be like the shoes guy, you know what I'm saying? So like if I had a fresh pair of shoes and I felt great, you know what I'm saying? And like, yes, that still exists obviously, but like haircut does something for me. So, I don't get cut as much as I have to because it is frankly difficult to find that barber. It's not impossible, but I found mine. Downside, he's my cousin and he's like an hour and a half away. Or an hour away. So I go once every 6 weeks or something.
Okay, so you get a nice cut. Do you have
I get the nice cut.
Do you have a favorite outfit when you put on the shoes with the cut?
Oh man. No, but now I got a great idea. Yeah, I mean, but you know what? Hang on a second. This would kill Kenny, and this would kill my cousin Gus, who's my other barber, or who's my barber. But I gotta say, my favorite way is to wear it with the hat, which sucks. But like, like, because, but you just like clean because it's nice and tapered, and then they do my beard, and I have a patchy beard, so it's like, once they put love on it, it just feels good. You know what I mean? But if I didn't have my beard, man, I guess it would have to be a tee, some nice some athleisure sweats, and some cool kicks for sure. I'm telling you, man, I'm too basic. That's probably why. That's why I came to film, dude. I'm like, man, I can't be doing this suit and tie thing for that much longer.
The goal is to feel as comfortable and as calm within yourself. So if that's a nice cut, some sweats, and some really clean sneakers, then you're doing all right.
Let me tell you, you'll catch me that way 90% of the time, but it's still the fave.
Yeah, but you just gotta add a little bit of oil to the beard and to get your little curls on the top, and you'd be good.
Oh no, definitely, I definitely need that.
Well, Bernie, thank you so much for sitting in the chair and sharing your stories. I truly, truly appreciate it.
No. Thank you. I had a blast. I had a blast, and I love what you do. I think this is amazing. So this is awesome. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I'm going to share with you a dream of mine. I would love to be on Sesame Street. Sesame Street held my hand through childhood. In my dream, I would be in my big afro or rainbow braids sitting on the stoop sharing hair stories. I would like your help, please, by doing all the things like leave a review, share it with someone who would benefit from hearing this episode. And if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone at Sesame Street, share your favorite episode with them, and I'll make you some of my famous chocolatey hot chocolate. I hope you have a beautiful day, or if you are like me, still up in the middle of the night, I hope you take a deep breath and rest. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Dream, hello. I just wanted to tell you you're wonderful. I just got through going through your podcast. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Keep it up. Maybe I need to send it to Oprah and Tyler Perry. Love you, baby. You are great.
Where we share stories in the chair.